Welcome. From compliance headaches to team culture to scaling smart, Retail Revelations is about what really makes or breaks cannabis retail. We dive into the truths about what can help or hinder license holders. My name is Chelsea Mulligan, dubbed as the Dispensary Whisperer. With over 80 dispensaries open, managed, or triaged, and more than 120 licenses touched nationwide, I specialize in transforming chaos into compliance and building teams that genuinely want to come to work. I've worked with everyone from regulators and FDA inspectors to legacy operators and court-appointed receivers. My roots are in operations and compliance, and I've had the honor of supporting teams, state regulators, and even international policymakers in creating systems that work. I thrive in helping operators to build businesses that are not just compliant, but human-centered and profitable. Shout out to Beard Bros Media for always supporting this work and being the voice of grounded and transparent cannabis news. And shout out to MJBiz for sponsoring this episode. This episode of Retail Revelations is a little bit different, but in the best way. We get to dive into the future of cannabis events, which is a personal love of mine, community, and how we come together as an industry. So the two powerhouse women joining me today are Emilie Lewis, who is a strategic leader behind MJBiz, and Jocelyn Sheltraw of MJBowl. So I'm so excited to dive in with you ladies. And for listeners who may be meeting you for the first time or need a refresher, can you each share a little bit about your journey into cannabis?
Yeah, thank you, Chelsea, for having us first and foremost. I love that you're the Dispensary Whisperer. I did not know that about you, but that so much respect because that is not an easy journey. It is, it's funny. We talk to people all the time and it never ceases to amaze me. Those that aren't in the industry don't realize how tough the retail sector is in this particular industry. So great title. But yeah, a little bit about myself. I have spent a little over 20 years in marketing, sales, strategy, and business development. I actually cut my teeth in retail, not cannabis retail, because at that point in time, when I had moved to California, medical had just come on the scene. So that was, a little too lengthy of a time ago, but I did cut my teeth in retail. I spent a little over 15 years in consumer packaged goods, apparel, again, running and working for brands such as Nike, Adidas, Levi's. So I definitely have, really, I guess, firsthand seen the retail environment and how different companies organize and operate their retail stores and chains, which is always a very interesting journey. But most recently, in the past 3 years, I transitioned over into MJBizCon, which is a part of a larger company called Emerald. And so I was at Emerald prior to that. And then when Emerald acquired MJBizCon, I came over to help grow and lead this brand. And I can safely say that every day I feel like I am getting a PhD in cannabis. I learn something new every day. And that's why it's exciting. I mean, it's why it's exciting. It's why it's frustrating. It's why it's hard. It's why it's gratifying. It's all of those terms because there is never a day that goes by that there's not something new in cannabis or something that you need to learn. So just very excited to be here. So thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for being here. And you are so right. I mean, I've been in this space for just a little over 13 years and I still learn something new every day. Jocelyn, please just tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey into cannabis, all the fun things.
Yes. Well, I really resonate with all of that because for me, I mean, I've spent my whole career in building in a startup industry. So when I graduated college, it was 2007, the iPhone came out that summer. And then found myself, working in the birth of mobile. It's what brought me to San Francisco. I grew up in Orange County, but I've been up in the Bay Area for the last 13 years. And just being here in the birth of just so much innovation, so many entrepreneurs that were just so enthused, seeing just a market just be built. In part, that's what attracted me when I was following the cannabis industry, which, by the way, I've been a long time cannabis enthusiast. It's just growing up in Orange County, growing up, as a millennial in the time period that I did. I have a probably similar story as most, trying cannabis at 15 with friends, yada, yada. Well, for me, it really developed into a deep passion in my 30s while I was in the tech industry and just sort of feeling disconnected and a little bit lost personally in what I wanted to be doing in life. And then sure enough, things manifest as they do if you're conscious about what you want. And got introduced to, the co-founders of Leafly, but also Headset. And so my entry into cannabis was almost 8 years ago. And that was to help build Headset, which at the time was really just getting going, a few years in market. And they needed someone to help, open up new markets and particularly focus on California, this massive state. And so tying it back to retail, that was really the goal. It was explain to retailers this retail software that was very new and innovative at the time, where people's eyes would just kind of glaze over when I'm saying, no, you can use this that connects to your point of sale. It'll tell you what to purchase, how much to purchase. That was a very hard thing to do in the start of recreational legalization here in California. So I learned very quickly, you better get out there, get into the community, build trust, really help people understand what this software would help them do. And long story short, ended up, getting integrated in so many different communities in cannabis. And then really over that, I spent 5 years helping build Headset. It was a very unique position for me, and it shaped a lot of what we're doing with Budist in a sense, because I was seeing all of the consumer trends, what people were purchasing as each state came online. And then here I was traveling the country, going and meeting with operators, meeting with retailers, with associations, anyone, you name it. And I just learned so much watching the market evolve through that journey, which in part led to building Budist, that I've launched with my life partner and business partner, Claudio Miranda, who he's been in the industry for 10 plus years, has owned every license type outside of testing lab. And that really then, between understanding the key problem that consumers are often purchasing on price point and THC level, and then Claudio seeing that, having built, a connoisseur brand and concentrates, where it was really hard to tell your story. Part of what we're trying to do with Budist is consumer education, build a culture of product appreciation by helping consumers understand and appreciate these products. And then tying it back to retail, eventually what will happen is that shelf will diversify. We'll start to see price points that are much higher because consumers are going to have more awareness as to why they're paying more for that premium product. So it'll just really help the market evolve. And I'll just, in closing, for me, it's just my whole life at this point really feels like a combination of all of my past experiences and doing something that I feel so passionate about, just helping evangelize this plant, just really helping be an advocate that can bring new consumers in, get people excited. That's just what kind of I'm all about. That's what we're building at Budist. And so I just feel grateful for just everything manifesting the way that it has.
Jocelyn, you and I have kind of circled around each other at random events and stuff, but we've never actually gotten a chance to chat and me hear your why and your journey. And I resonate with it so much because consumers don't have to purchase on price or THC percentages if they're actually educated. And that starts with us because some bud tenders aren't even educated. So if the yous and me's of the world don't do that education, who does? Google? That's my 14-year-old learning sex education from ChatGPT. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
So speaking of evolution and kind of, Budist is doing that evolution, MJBiz is always evolving. I've been attending MJBiz since 2013 and
nice.
has had a major shift.
Yes,
and
yes.
2025 still feels like a major shift. So tell me, Emilie, kind of what's new this year? What are you and your team intentionally doing to change that experience and elevate it for all of us attending?
Yeah, you said it when you said, I was there in 2013. MJBiz has been around for 14 years. And so when MJBiz first started, maybe a little known fact, actually in the cannabis industry, I would say outside, but I find people in the cannabis industry that don't know this, that MJBiz was started by two women, two powerful, amazing women who had the foresight 14 years ago to see a need, see an industry that was beginning and needed business infrastructure. And that's really how MJBiz was built. It was built on the fact that, there were at that point only 2 states that had legalized in any way. And now we have over 40 states. And so for the past 14 years, what MJBiz has been doing is helping those businesses build their infrastructure as new states come online, as new licenses are awarded, and new dispensaries, pop up. I think how we've changed in the past few years is just that. I think that our industry has changed. I think that the need has changed. And I think as we go from this infancy into more of an adolescent stage in cannabis, where there is infrastructure, there is, there are businesses that are operating and running and scaling and growing. Now we need to look at what's next. And that's really where Jocelyn and I connected, over a year ago, because of our retail backgrounds and because of our emphasis on the consumer. That's really what we feel is next. And we have these conversations every January when we wrap up an MJBizCon. January for us as we go into like these deep strategy meetings of what is the industry doing currently? Where are we hearing it's going, whether that's regulatory and policy movement, or whether that's community and advocacy, or whether that's science and technology. But we look at the industry as a whole, and we try to, as best we can, create the crystal ball of where do we think in the next year. And it's a fun game to play because we have to pivot a lot. I will say that. And this team is very agile and very good at pivoting. But, we try to sit down and we look at what is the missing factor? What is this industry maybe not leaning into that we feel we see other more mature industries lean into as business growth happens and scaling happens? So for us over the course of the past, I would say 18 to 24 months, really what we've been trying to do is reconnect with our community. And that's not to say that we weren't connected with our community, years ago. That's just to say that the community has changed and the landscape has changed. And just like any, marketing model, if you're still working off of, the same personas from 2 years ago, you're behind. At this point, if you're working off the same persona from last week, you're behind. So we really sat down, a good 18 to 24 months ago and started to think about how's the community changed? How has the culture shifted? Where do we see other industries that maybe were in this adolescent stage? Where did they go next? And maybe what did they do wrong so that we can learn from that? Because those are the best lessons in life. And then we start to strategize about, what the needs are, what we can innovate, what we can bring to the show. So what I will tell you this year is we have several new initiatives. Sometimes, I joke with the team that, coming out of those January and February strategy meetings, we were supposed to only have 3 initiatives. And this year it feels like we have about 10. I'm like, what happened to scaling that down a little bit? But the team has definitely been working overtime this season. One of our biggest new initiatives that we have this year is the addition of NuWoo. And for those who haven't heard of NuWoo, it is a fantastic dispensary and cultivator that is in Nevada, right outside of, they have 2 facilities in Nevada. Their closest facility right outside of the Strip, which is only about a 5-minute Uber ride, 5 to 10-minute Uber ride outside of the Strip. It is really an event space. I will say it's a dispensary like no other that I've seen. It's a beautiful dispensary. It's a beautiful consumption lounge. It's an outdoor event and festival space. And so they are fantastic partners. And we have taken over NuWoo for the whole of the week at MJBiz. So we're starting on Tuesday, which is when MJBiz kicks off with our forums. We're starting on Tuesday with a media day where Beard Bros is our partner in that. And we're very thankful to the guys at Beard Bros. And we're ending on a Friday night with a wrap party. So between Tuesday and Friday, we have several different events, from flower hours that will have brands that are popped up, to nightly events. For example, on Wednesday night, our pavilion on the show floor called The Vault will be highlighting seeds and clones. And so that night will be all about seeds and clones. So we're really just celebrating, MJBiz is everything from seed to sell. And we're celebrating all of those just different aspects of the show at NuWoo. And the goal with NUWU is not to compete with what we do on the expo floor. So to be very clear about that, during the day, when we open up our expo floor, that is where some of the most pivotal conversations in the industry happen. That's where deals are done. That's where business, happens. But this is meant to be an extension. So once the expo floor starts winding down in the afternoon around the 4:20 hour, because, we have to be very cliche about it. Everything's got to have a 4:20 in it, So around the 4:20 hour, that's when we're going to start to wind up NUWU. And it will just be a place for brands and more of an experiential environment, because consumption can happen at NUWU. So sampling, selling, you're in an environment where consumption can happen and brands can really be highlighted in a different way than they can on the expo floor. And then it's just meant to be more of an experience, and it'll take us into the early night. But we'll wrap up around 11 for all of those that want to get to their, later night parties. I'll be headed straight back to, my hotel room to sleep. But, for us, this is a really big adventure, and I think it signifies our dedication to understanding that we are everything from seed to sell, and that we do understand that dispensaries are a very important part of this taxonomy. And without them, none of us would be, cultivators wouldn't have a job, manufacturers wouldn't have a job. It really does all culminate to that end product and that dispensary and that retail atmosphere. And so this is really a celebration of the consumer, the retailer, the brands. So that's really exciting. And then I know we're going to dive into the MJBowl with Budist and Jocelyn are our partners in. So we'll save that till later. But that's our other really, really big initiative, again, that is highlighting our growers, our brands, the wonderful product, and giving both certified judging their time to shine, as well as consumers and retailers their time to shine. So some really fun, interesting things with MJBowl that we can dive into. But at the end of the day, we're listening. We're doing a lot of listening. I will say that. We're doing a lot of listening, a lot of learning, and we're here for the industry. At the end of the day, that is MJBiz's role. We're here to provide the industry what they need so that their business can keep growing and thriving. So that's always our goal year over year.
I want to bring it back to NUWU a little bit later, but first, Jocelyn, I would love to hear from you. Tell everyone what the MJBowl is. How did it even come to be?
Yes. Well, I'm just so excited about this because, it's like, I think together, number one, there's just a lot of different stories here of just how this came together and really the problem that we're trying to solve with this, or just the ethos and the spirit behind it, which really is, like, in my mind, there's no bigger stage than MJBiz every single year, right? We have 20,000 plus people that are coming from all around the world. And to Emilie's point, people are coming here to learn, they're coming to do business, they're coming to network. And our goal at Budist, if you've been following along on our journey, it's really about, the simplest way to describe Budist is people often refer to it as like the wine spectator of cannabis. And what that means for us and what we're trying to do is we're really trying to, number one, just create a trusted ecosystem where consumers, where professionals, where people can go and learn from other people and understand, read product reviews, understand what those products are, what their experience may be. And if we look at how other connoisseur goods or how other really nuanced products, whether that's wine or beer or coffee, how consumers came to appreciate those products, it took a combination of many things happening in the early stages of their industry, which are things like having plate communities, whether that's a trade show, a conference, a platform like Budist, where you can go share that expertise. It really took all of that knowledge. And it took things like having competitions, which then create trust or quality signals for the consumer to then understand and learn about that product, which then tying it back to retail, that's where the consumers then gain all of that knowledge and understanding. So for example, if we look at some other industries, we've all been into a grocery store or a wine retail store where you see the point system. You see 99 points rated by this critic, by this publication. what those are is those are trust and quality signals at retail that help guide the consumer and give them very easy ways to understand the quality of that product, therefore then the price they should pay for that product. So having the opportunity to come together with MJBiz and use this like massive global platform, both at the trade show plus through media, to us, it was just so exciting. And for all of the other partners involved, Nabis, who's our distribution partner in both California and New York, our retail partners, which is Gotham in New York, which is a 4-store chain, and then the Artistry, which is a 12-store, soon to be 12-store chain here in California. All of our groups coming together, using this platform, and then creating this competition, which is the first bi-coastal competition. And it's meant to celebrate and recognize producers within the flower, concentrate, pre-roll, vape, and edible categories. And let's use this platform. Let's use our standardized judging methodology that we have at Budist, where every category, we have a very standard way to go through and assess the quality of those products in an unbiased, in a very analytical manner that we train all of our Budists, our judges, to use this methodology and then assess each category, which we have in California. We've got almost 30 judges here in California, 15 in New York. And these people are truly some of the most like experienced, very diverse group of people. Everyone's been out there in their own right, sharing their expertise, whether that's on social, at community events. Like these people are just passionate about the plant, like to the core. And so bringing all of us together and then having this competition that we hope will then be truly national. You know, we're just starting with the 2 states, California, New York, because this is our first year. We need to make this manageable for all of the partners. And we'll add in other categories as we grow as well. It's just these 5 categories. But again, like all of us coming together, using our networks to really go help amplify and just drive visibility to the winning producers. That's what this is about. The whole ethos here in the spirit is the reason we're in this industry, the reason that we have all of these businesses is because of the products that are being created to help us with all of the different things that we use cannabis for. So we should be celebrating those producers. And it's critical for our industry that as we do that, it's in a professional standard way, because that's what is going to help further push us along with normalization, shifting the perception of cannabis as a whole. And so that's why it's like, let's celebrate quality. Let's do this in a way that is just standardized and professional. And then let's use all of these amazing companies, MJBiz, Nabis, Gotham, Artistry, at Budist, and let's amplify. Let's go spread word. And then hopefully that'll just drive more positive awareness to our industry in other ways throughout more mainstream media.
Yes. And just to add on to that really quickly, I will say when Jocelyn and I first started having this conversation, again, over a year ago, one of the things that stood out to me that Budist did was the California State Fair. And if you're not familiar with what the California State Fair has done in terms of cannabis, it has changed the landscape for so many retail owners to be able to expand their audience and create that educational interaction with an audience that really has been stigmatized by their generation's idea of cannabis. And I've heard from so many dispensary owners coming off of the state fair, back in 2024, it kept my doors open. Yeah. The fact that I could be in an environment where an age group that was 60 plus, and granted, there's all age groups at the California State Fair. I love it. My kids love it. We all love it, but it was very specific to that age group of 60 over, where they felt comfortable and they had a really good conversation about their ailments or, what was going on. But that particular person might have never thought to walk into a dispensary again because of the stigma, and they gained new customers. And, it's things like that made Jocelyn and I connect and made us want to do things like this, because again, more education, really tackling the stigma of what's out there and making sure that we are propping up those retailers and giving them an opportunity to expand their audience base. And so, again, that just I remember the conversation that Jocelyn and I had and talking about how important that was. And so that really was like one of the catalysts for this competition.
Well, and I'll just add to that to tie it back also to retail, because it's really or like trade shows as a whole, it's really exciting to then see producers displaying that golden bear from the state fair and using that as a way to then go tell their story. And so that's what, in creating this competition, like that's what we're trying to help do, is give more of these quality signals for brands to go tell their story. And what that means for retail is that with both of our retail partners, so Gotham in New York and the Artistry here in California, we're going to be having the winners, the first place winner in each category is going to be featured at these stores for consumers to purchase. And they're going to be in dedicated display units that are saying, these are the MJBowl winners. We're going to review all of those products at Budist, create the shelf talkers that'll have the point on there. It'll highlight that this was an MJBowl first, second, or third award-winning product. And what that does then, again, consumers in a retail store, they see this beautiful setup. They see, oh, wow, that, concentrate, 99 points. They see a familiar critic's name on there. They see the MJBowl. It really is going to help drive sales for those producers. And that's what we've been seeing with other competitions, which we're certainly not, with whether the state fair or with MJBowl. Like, we always want to respect the competitions that came before us. Emerald Cup, Farmers Cup, Cannabis. There's so many amazing competitions out there. I think the difference with this and why we're so excited about this, it really is for that global or national reach and exposure with such trusted names that have been in the game for so long. We're really that is a key piece of this. It's just that network effects that will help really propel the rest of the industry.
Yep.
As someone who spent 6 years of her time in this industry, creating international standards and working with the FDA and the United Nations, the way you related the wine score, I think is just like a part of me just lit up inside when you said that, because I think it's so important for cannabis to create something like that, to direct consumers. Consumers don't have any clue. They don't have any idea. So, thank you for
and a fun data point there that you'll appreciate. There's been many studies on this where if you have a bottle of wine or a bottle of olive oil, if you have a quality signal is what it's called on there, whether that's a score, whether that's a competition, whether that's whatever kind of award, that bottle will sell 10 times the amount versus anything without a quality signal on there. So it's just really important for trust with consumers to help storytell about your brand, and awards are just simply a really easy way to go about doing that.
Thank you for kind of spearheading that. I love that. That piece of it, the correlation and teaching them how to purchase. Small shameless plug for the listeners that don't know what Emilie was referencing with the state fair. Episode 3 of mine with Lauren Carpenter from Embark is a really great episode to kind of dive into everything both Budist and Embark has done with the state fair. And honestly, I mean, it's something that has never been done before. So
it's impressive. It's very impressive. I'm glad you have an episode to refer to. That's great. I'm going to go listen after this.
Okay. So you kind of dove into what the MJBowl is. Now let's talk about what that partnership between MJBiz and MJBowl looks like, and what do attendees like myself, what should we expect?
Yeah. So the partnership is Budist and MJBiz. It was, it started over a year ago with Jocelyn and I having a conversation, and, obviously, took time to put the logistics and the thought behind this to make the MJBowl happen. So Budist is our premier partner, and obviously we have, to Jocelyn's point, we have our 2 retail partners in both New York with Gotham and the Artistry in California. But I guess what attendees should expect, at the end of the day, this is going to be a celebration of our industry. And so what we're doing now, the phase that we're in, we were taking submissions. Submissions are now closed. Now the judges they have their packets in hand, and they're starting to go through their rigorous review process. And so we will be announcing some semifinalists in the coming weeks. So that will be announced. And then we will have those semifinalists on site at MJBiz, and we will have an award ceremony where we will announce the winner live at MJBiz. But it doesn't necessarily stop there. And that was part of what Jocelyn and I had talked about, is that, you know, with trade shows, one thing also that the MJBiz team has been trying to do, and part of our strategy, is that we understand that there is the energy around that week, but we want that energy to continue into January, February, March, April, May. We want to continue to support the industry. So after MJBiz, the winners of our competition, there will be packets available at retail that our consumers can then go purchase. And we want to hear from the consumers. We want to hear if our judges got it right, or if they think that maybe our judges missed something, you know? But at the end of the day, we want to, and Jocelyn always says this about the process, is making sure that we democratize the process. And I love that terminology, because we want to make sure that, yes, our judges have gone through high levels of education, whether it's, you know, the Ganjier certification, or whether it's being a certified Budist and rating and reviewing on the Budist site. They have a different education level when it comes to taste and smell and, you know, all the different factors. But our consumers have their own, you know, thoughts and feelings as well. And we want them to be a part of this. So in January and February, into the new year, that will be available for our consumers. And so that's actually going to be the really exciting part. Like, I'm excited to then go on the Budist website and see, did we get it right? Like, what did they think, you know? And, you know, again, that is really our goal, is to help the whole of the industry, from the producers to the retailers. So attendees can expect the celebration on site, the anticipation of who wins, but also as an attendee, most of our attendees are consumers. So then they can take part in that come the new year, which I think is, in my opinion, one of the best aspects of this program.
That's a really cool addition, and a way to not only build the community around it, but include consumers. Because there are some consumers that, you know, watch what the industry does and watch us players in the industry, but they don't get to be a part of that. So now they do. Jocelyn, what is the future of the MJBowl after this year? Like, how does it evolve? Because I've watched you take things and evolve them and grow them. And so how do you envision, it doesn't mean it's going to be perfect or this will be what it will be, but how do you envision MJBowl growing after this?
More states. It's like, that's our goal here. Let's make this thing national. I think, as Em and I were discussing this, it's like, look, if we're not going to have federal movement, we're going to take control into our own hands, and we're going to use, again, like, a big part of this is standardizing things. And because we're using the same methodology, we can do that and just bring in new states every single year. So I hope this will be national in years to come. And regardless of what's happening, just from a policy standpoint, this, again, this level of normalization and this conversation, hopefully on a national level, which, by the way, the reason that we're having the awards ceremony on the trade show floor on December 4th from noon to 2 p.m. is because we want to drive as much of our industry and people there to see these winners, celebrate these winners, and help us tell that story, because then that's the goal here. Let's drive national awareness and take that control into our own hands.
Absolutely. And I will quickly add on that to say that there hasn't been a conversation that we've had about this ever being a one and done, ever. This is a conversation that we've had from the very beginning about how do we start and how do we make sure that we do the absolute best that we can from previous learnings, so that we have a really strong start. But every single year we want more states and more states and more states involved, so that it really truly does become a complete national competition.
I think that would just be a really cool thing for multiple states to be involved, especially with those smaller states that may not have as much of a footprint, like North Dakota and stuff like that. Like, they're still a part of our industry, and I'd love to see them involved. So yay. Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit. And Emilie, you mentioned NuWoo, and I want to talk a little bit about Media Day, and thank you for allowing Beard Bros to be your exclusive partner. And tell the listeners, what is Media Day? What do attendees expect at Media Day?
Yeah, so with NuWoo, we're going to have just over around 40 brands that will be activating on site at NuWoo. And that is for the purpose of sampling and consumption. You'll be able to taste and test their brands on site, and obviously a beautiful environment. But on top of that, we have, 20, 30 other really amazing organizations. So some things come to mind where it's some of the pre-roll machines that are going to be there. So you actually can walk up to a machine, buy your product, put it in the machine, see it go through the process, and then spit out a pre-roll, and there you go.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I know, I think it is too. I am a total nerd when it comes to MJBiz. I walk around the show floor and I see machines and I'm like, tell me how it works. I want to see how it works because I want to understand the process from start to finish. So Media Day essentially is the day to celebrate all of those companies and organizations that will be on site. So it is, our brands and companies will be coming in earlier on that day to set up their space for the week. And then we have an invite only media day where we're inviting both national and industry specific media publications into the space to have direct access to these brands. We've also invited some of our top exhibitors as well to come in at a different point in the day, where then the media will get access to, before the expo floor even opens, to some of our top brands that sit on our expo floor. And then, at the end of the day, we're going to culminate in a fun, probably 420, I'm sure, happy hour of sorts to just celebrate the media and to talk about, maybe what they've heard, what they're learning. But it is essentially a celebration of our brands. It is for our media to see and hear and firsthand understand what new technology there is, what new products and brand advancements are happening. And again, that can be hard sometimes when you're on the expo floor and you're in a booth, especially as part of the media, and you're waiting to talk to an exhibitor, but they have clients and they're trying to do business. And so our goal with this is to give media that first, be able to have that first conversation with these brands in a controlled environment so that they can get the scoop, and that scoop can be out while MJBiz is going on, which in turn helps our exhibitors and helps our business. So that's really what it is, a celebration. And we're really honored that Beard Bros is our partner, because they have been such an amazing, strong partner in terms of just the collaboration again. And that's what we look for in partners. The first conversation that we had with Beard Bros was like, this is not a one and done. We have to do it this year. We have to do it well. And how do we grow next year? So, yeah.
So one of my favorite parts of this industry right now is consumption lounges. I truly believe that those will be a thing in all new states that come online eventually. I think probably 2027, 2028. But I think we'll see a lot of states go back and give those licenses. So I'd love to hear from both of you. MJBiz has never really done anything at a consumption-friendly location. And so to me, it kind of signals that the future is changing in our industry and in the space. But I'd love to hear from both of you what you think hosting a whole week at a cannabis consumption lounge kind of signals about the future of our industry and the conference space.
Yeah, I'm going to let Jocelyn take this one. I'd love to hear her take before I even jump in.
Well, I'll say this, because at Budist, we do a ton of events at consumption lounges. And why do we do that? Because again, if you're trying to educate the consumer, whether that's an enthusiast or someone who's a professional in our industry, if you're not able to consume the product and really go through that process and create a space where people can learn from each other and calibrate together, then we're missing the main point of this. So for us at Budist, it's imperative. We've done consumption lounges around California. We've done events in New York. And the crux of it is really walking people through a tasting, helping people explore and connect with a product, and learning from people that are experienced professionals that really have qualifications to help guide people through that product, be a good Sherpa, whether that's the bud tender, whether that's a group like what we're doing, serving as a sommelier, whether that's the Gangier group. So again, I think and Emilie you guys were the one that were really focused on doing this at NUU and just giving people that experience. But to me, that's what's imperative for a trade show that's all about cannabis. you at some point have to be able to create that space for people to consume the products, because of course that brands are going to have to figure out a way to do that regardless. That's how we sell our products. So it's just consumption space is really critical, and it's exciting to see all around the state new consumption lounges popping up that are really have an ethos that is a little bit more elevated. Not that that needs to be the point, but just attracting new consumers in familiar environments that you're used to going to, whether a restaurant or a bar, whatever that may be, and creating that familiarity. It's just key to our growth as an industry. So I think it was an incredible move by MJBiz to just give our industry that experience as well.
Yeah. And, again, MJBiz, 14 years within the industry, and we are globally the largest B2B, event that happens. And we will always be that. That is our ethos. That is our goal, is always to drive business. But what we're seeing, anyone that's paid attention to the news lately, you're seeing a group, especially the younger generation, that is giving up alcohol for cannabis. And you're seeing a group of younger generation that they're not going to bars in the same fashion that maybe I was when I was younger. And they're trading in, they're trading in what consumption means to them. And so I think, again, just paying attention to what's happening in the world around us, it makes sense that we would lean into the consumer side of our industry and, partner with an amazing dispensary like Nuwu. For us, it really is just about every single facet of this industry. And when we sat down and looked at what we were adding to the roster this year, we really looked at what are some of those portions of our industry that maybe we didn't feel we had the best representation for. And so, it's as simple as that. It's business. It's look at, if you are everything from seed to sell, what are the sides of the industry that we're heavy in, and what are the sides of the industry that we need to put some more emphasis on? So it was a natural progression for us. The business that's done on that expo floor and the networking that is done on that expo floor and the different facets of the industry that most don't even realize and or understand, because I think the stigma of cannabis is that, it's just a bunch of people sitting around smoking weed. And you're like, this is actually a fantastically diverse and layered industry. And I think when people come to MJBiz for the first time, they're always kind of a little taken back by, some people are like, it looks like a farming show. And I'm like, well, it's a plant. It looks like a business show. I saw suits. Now it's a business. Oh, yeah. Well, there was this one side where, everybody was, there was music and people, with tattoos and this. And I'm like, there's culture, it's like,
there's a little bit of everything.
There's everything in this industry, because we are an industry that's here to stay, that's growing. You cannot put the genie back in the bottle. I say all the time. It might be hard, and we've had a lot of hurdles, but I really hope this time next year we're having a completely different conversation. And hope is definitely not a strategy, but I am hopeful that we're having a completely different conversation on a federal level about what hopefully has happened. So again, I think as we march towards that, as you see headlines with Target and, CBD, and you see headlines with other major ancillary retailers embracing this plant, it's natural that we would, go this direction. So.
I know we are coming close to the end. I just have one more question for you both. I would like you both to share what your one piece of advice would be for a new attendee of MJBiz and an existing attendee of the MJBiz. So a two-part question. Best networking tip, best way to prep before arriving, one thing not to miss this year. Any of those? Figured you might need a little prompt.
I'm happy to kick it off. Well, I've been going to MJBiz since 2018. I've attended every single year. And whether you're a first-time attendee or this is your 8th time like me, The key, it's really preparation. I mean, that's my biggest piece of advice. Like with anything in life, especially something like MJBiz, it can be very overwhelming. Like the trade show floor is massive. You got all kinds of parties going on in the evening. We're doing our planning right now. What parties are we going to? Like everything is on the calendar. You got to try to be as organized as possible. And then once you're there on the trade show floor, I bring up my notepad app. And every single day I'm taking notes. Who did I meet with? I'm writing notes on cards that I'm getting. It's like, if you don't do it in the moment, this is, I guess, would be my second thing, is be in the moment, taking those notes and writing yourself reminders, follow up with this person, because what really matters here is what happens after MJBiz. You're making all these contacts there, but if you're not following up because you didn't remember, because you had, dozens of conversations in the day, all of that hard work just goes to waste. And I've been guilty of this every single year. So I just try to get all of my, everything in order for how to be most productive with my time there, and just really execute and stay true to that as much as possible. And you'll find the amount of connections and the success that comes from that. If you're strategic, it will bring back tenfold the value from what you put in. So it's key to be organized there.
Yes. You said it perfectly, because preparation is key. I think like anything else in life, you get out of something what you put into it. And so I think that if you are coming to MJBiz, make sure, like Jocelyn said, to prepare and be in the moment and follow up. I would also say just show up. It has been a tough year. There's no doubt, not to sugarcoat anything. Everybody in this business, it's been a tough year. It's been a tough 4 or 5 years, but it's been a very tough year this year. And, I hear more and more people taking their foot off the gas pedal. And the thing that I would say is, there is going to be movement. There will be change. It will come. It might not come in the timeline that we want. And I think the businesses and the brands and the industry individuals that will shine are the ones that are, they're realistic and they might be cautious, but they're not taking their foot off the gas pedal. They're not slamming on the brake. They are continuing to slowly pace themselves on that gas pedal, meaning they're going to show up. They're going to do the work. They're going to prepare. And I would say just, show up, if anything else, and be open. Be open to the conversations, be open to learning, be open to networking, because you never know a year from now. It never ceases to amaze me. I have people a year, 2 years later, oh, I met you at MJ 2 years ago. And then I have this fantastic idea and it comes to fruition a year, 2 years later. So show up, don't take your foot off the gas, keep going, even though it's hard, we know it, and just be open.
If you both, as we wrap up, could just kind of tell the listeners where they can follow your work and stay up to date on MJBowl and MJBiz, I would love if you would share, please.
Yeah. So for me, follow us on Budist _official on Instagram. The biggest thing is check out the app, download it and read some of the reviews. It's truly remarkable. Number one, just the group that we've assembled and just the level of expertise, the writing, the photography. It's just really impressive and just truly an homage to all of the producers doing incredible work. So definitely check out the app. And then for me personally, I'm active on LinkedIn, so you can connect with me there or on social media. I finally got my personal Instagram account back after being locked out for 2 months. So I'm very excited about that. Jossy Bossy or budding _Budist on Instagram.
Awesome. MJBiz, and that's biz with a Z, conference.com. So MJBiz, biz with a Z, conference.com. Or I think most people also know, and hopefully check on a daily basis, MJBiz Daily. So biz with a Z, MJBiz Daily. That is the media side and the daily news and media outlet. And then MJBizconference.com. And you can find out more about the MJBowl. If you go to MJBizconference.com, there's a little navigation pane that says MJBowl, or you can go to Budist and find the exact same where they have it highlighted as well. Anything MJBiz lives on the daily or the conference.
Well, thank you both for joining me today. Thank you, listeners, for listening. My name is Chelsea Mulligan, the Dispensary Whisperer. You can find me on LinkedIn as Chelsea Mulligan, Instagram as the Dispensary Whisperer, or chelseamulligan.com. Please go connect with both Emilie and Jocelyn on LinkedIn, as I'm sure we all want to watch what states join for 2026 and how both of these things evolve. Make sure to follow Beard Bros Farms on Instagram. And if you're in California or Massachusetts, find their amazing RSO Dablicator and tincture products at a dispensary near you. And while we all wish we could sesh with the bros in person on the daily, that unfortunately isn't a reality. I know I'm ready for another Friday sesh live. How about everybody else, if I could get it out? So the next best option is signing up for their Beard Bros Media Friday Sesh newsletter at beardbrosfarms.com, which brings you the most current and authentic cannabis news every Friday. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks, Chelsea.